Apple finally adopting RCS in the next version of iOS. And it's kind of telling how much Apple didn't want to do this by how lackluster its announcement was.
I'm a big fan of like everybody using the same standard. Are they using RCS, do you know, between Apple customers?
I thought you were going to say the most secure method of sending messages was by carrier pigeon with ROT13 encryption, right?
End-to-end encryption only really truly is secure if the company that made the server didn't. Hello, how the tech are you? I am HK Perrin, and I'm back after an extended leave. I was grieving the passing of a friend, but I am back, and today I have a story about Apple finally adopting RCS in the next version of iOS. iOS 18 will be the first version to support RCS messaging, which is the new standard set to replace SMS as the most popular way to communicate with text between telecommunication customers. Unlike something like iMessage or Signal or what's that one? Anyway, unlike those other messengers, RCS is not controlled by a single company. RCS supports features that SMS is sorely missing, like high-resolution images and videos and delivery and read indicators. Apple has been reluctant to adopt RCS as its iMessage service is one of the few things that Apple users have been able to point to differentiate iOS from Android. When the green bubble doesn't come with severe limitations, the blue bubble won't be so enticing. And it's kind of telling how much Apple didn't want to do this by how lackluster its announcement was. It was kind of a throwaway point in their marketing material. They didn't even announce it in their conference. They just announced it in like marketing materials. So what do you guys think?
I think there's going to be a new version of this now, because when I message people, sometimes it says SMS and sometimes it says RCS. So now there's a new how cool are you, but it's on my Android phone.
Yeah, so right now, if an Android phone messages an iPhone, or if an iPhone messages an Android phone, it's sent over SMS, which has like really crappy image quality. Images are sent through MMS, which is like the data limit on an MMS message is very small. So images have to be reduced like crazy to fit in that data limit. And it doesn't have things like the read indicator, so you can't tell if someone's received your message or read your message. It doesn't have high quality video. I think the video is limited to like 3GP codec with like a really low bit rate. I might be wrong about the codec, but the bit rate is very low. So if I on my iPhone were to send you on your Android a picture or a video, it would look like crap. And I could send it to another iPhone just fine, and you could send it to another Android just fine, but they don't communicate well between each other. And it's been entirely the fault of Apple for that.
Yeah.
If I send you something like that, if I send you an image, I just send it to you on Discord, and I pay for Discord, so I have big image files in Discord. I'm a big fan of like everybody using the same standard. And if this is, the SMS standard was old, and it was probably the right thing for Apple to do for its own customers to allow them to use a better messaging service. But now that there's a standard that everyone can use, the fact that Apple didn't jump right on board is the most Apple thing that they could have possibly done, actually.
Yeah, they can't let the users out of the walled garden. Prison, whatever it's called.
The red message indicator and stuff, I don't know. And I'm, because I hardly even use texts like for messaging, but it'd be nice if you could turn that off, actually. So
I think you can.
Good, because that's some stalker
it's your phone that tells the service that you've read the message. So I think you're in your phone, you could turn it off.
Good. That's kind of important, because that's some weird stalker stuff that people might get a little bent out of shape. You read it and didn't respond. It's like, well, yeah.
Yeah, I do like the delivered indicator, so I know that like, okay, it's been delivered. When they'll see it is up to them now, but like at least they got it, and I know there wasn't some interruption in between.
Right, which is uncommon anyway, but it would be horrible like if it was an important message or whatever, if you were like if it didn't show up. I think it was I can't even remember any times that SMS didn't eventually send the message, but Who knows?
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe it's happened to other people. This is good. Are they using RCS, do you know, between Apple customers too, or are they still using, they're still using iMessage?
Yep. They still use iMessage, and their reasoning for that is first of all, iMessage has additional features, but also they explicitly stated that they want iMessage to be a secure way of communicating, and iMessage is end-to-end encrypted. So if I send my mom a message, we're both iPhone users, so I can read it, my mom can read it, but Apple can't read it, according to Apple. I don't know if that's been independently verified, but I would assume, I trust Apple wouldn't lie about something like that.
That's pretty fundamental to their business model. It would be a pretty big scandal if yeah. I don't know if is RCS end-to-end encrypted? I don't care.
It is not.
Well, that's great. Now
it's encrypted, but not end-to-end. So the operator of the RCS server can see the message.
That's great. Now, the smoking man knows that I texted my mom yesterday and was like, "I'll be over in half an hour." Fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, to certain users, it might matter. Probably to like government users that have to use something that can't be intercepted, it might matter a lot more. So for them, RCS wouldn't be a good solution. But for them, probably iMessage wouldn't be a good solution either.
Or like for me, like when I communicate with journalists, generally they want to use Signal.
Yeah.
I want to point out that end-to-end encryption is not really end-all be-all kind of thing, because they still control the app. So technically they can get into the app and scrape whatever they want.
Yes,
there's not a
end-to-end
whole lot you can do
encryption
about that. But
end-to-end encryption only really truly is secure if the company that made the server didn't also make the client. So, someone asked online recently, what's the most secure method of communicating? And I told them, first of all, it really depends on what you mean by secure, but the most secure method of communicating probably would be something like an email service with OpenPGP. And there are a lot of drawbacks to that. And I mentioned, there are some pretty big drawbacks in that it's very difficult to set up. Certain things aren't encrypted, like the subject of the email. And it would be very difficult for you to get someone who's not tech savvy to communicate with you that way. But if you have something like iMessage or even like Signal, where one company controls the client that communicates to the server that they also control, they could introduce some backdoor into the client that would deliver them your messages unencrypted. Right. I'm not saying that they do, but they can. They technically have that ability.
And you're going to say
not for nothing. If you're trying to have a private conversation with someone, just have it in person.
It's not always possible, but yeah.
I thought you were going to say the most secure method of sending messages was by carrier pigeon with ROT13 encryption, right?
I mean, there are other methods of communicating that would be just as secure, if not more secure than that, but they're not really a standard. You could just set up a server that has an encrypted disk that you can both SSH into and then just make text files. And that would be extremely secure, but that's not a standard. They were asking what is a standard method of communicating. Yeah. And I got downvoted a lot by people who didn't really understand what I was trying to say. I was trying to say in terms of encryption, that's not the most secure. You can encrypt things better than that. But what I was trying to convey is that, you have this problem when you have something like Signal, where Signal, the company, controls both the server and the client that's used to communicate with it. Whereas with something like email, I could use Gmail as my server and Thunderbird as my client, and those are controlled by two completely different entities. So at that point, if one of them does something that's not in the email protocol or the PGP protocol, it will stop communicating with the other one, and I'll know something's up.
I mean, that's not the... if anybody has control over your client, and you're not 100% in control and can audit the code, they can get in, they can put stuff in to read your messages. I think that's even how Didn't like the FBI not too long ago release their own encrypted messaging service and got a whole bunch of criminals to use it?
They crazy enough. There was a whole mobile phone company.
Oh, okay.
It's a pretty amazing story that we don't have time to get into.
We should cover that at some point.
Yeah.
That would be an edited video type thing, I think.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But also, I mean, if you just want basic, like some level of anonymity or whatever, just a voice conversation on something that's peer to peer is going to offer you some level of security. It's not perfect, but then the conversation itself is ephemeral. It's not being stored anywhere. It just depends how secure do you think it needs to be and how much hassle are you willing to go through. And iMessage makes it easy, I suppose, but I don't know. You think governments all over the world haven't figured out how to get into that? You are probably wrong.
Yeah, I feel like the most important thing when you're considering security is like assessing the type of risks that you want to secure yourself against.
Right.
Like if you are so worried about like, end-to-end encrypting your communication, but like you don't prioritize like what happens if someone just gets your password and you just use a bad password, like then you've like no matter how much you set up like fantastic end-to-end encryption, if your password is leaked, none of it matters.
So an in-person conversation at a noisy bar is ephemeral.
Yep.
And unless someone is very good at eavesdropping, that's how I would, if I needed to have, I'd just have somebody meet me at the Caravan when a punk band was playing and nobody would hear anything. They might not even hear what I was saying.
Thank you for tuning in to How the Tech Are You? We put this show out on YouTube in 3 parts every week, sometimes 3 parts, sometimes fewer. We also put this show out as a podcast. If you want to check out this and all our other podcasts, you can do that at echoplexmedia.com. And if you want to support us, you can do that at patreon.com/echoplex and eplex.store. Remember to like and subscribe, and another video will be on your screen right now if you want to see more of our beautiful faces. Have a great tech and week.